Now, the Bram Weinstein Show on Washington's new home for sports, ESPN 630.
Hey, babies. 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 Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. I am trying to get Kevin. Hi, everyone.
Not hard enough.
Yeah. Look over there. Look over there, Theodore. Look at Mark and see if he can get his wand to come back. We didn't have that problem with Bradley, did we?
One of them's one of the greatest.
Point 10.
One of them's the greatest young players in the game. The other one's not a top 10 player.
The other one's a good player.
Maybe not a top 20 player.
No, that's not fair to Brad. Hold on.
This wasn't on the rundown.
Hold on. Now I got to look at the All-Star rosters. Well, let me just look at. Let me see if I can.
There's 19 players better than Bradley Beal.
Jason Tatum. Jaylen Brown.
Arguable.
We'll keep him off for now.
Okay.
Durant.
Yep.
Kyrie. Nobody on the Knicks.
Yeah, right.
Currently.
Yeah.
Unless you think Jalen Brunson is, and I don't, or RJ Barrett is, and I don't.
Right.
Embiid. Yes.
Yep.
Harden.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
I don't think there's anybody on the Raptors except for maybe Siakam that you would maybe say that, but I won't do that to Brad.
Okay.
Okay. Zach LaVine. Maybe.
Maybe.
Who's that young guard for the Cavaliers? He's pretty darn good. Whatever. Nobody on the Pistons yet, but Cade Cunningham might be, right? Might be. And I love this Ivy guy that they drafted, maybe. Indiana doesn't seem to have anybody like that. Giannis, 6. Drew Holiday, would you put him above Brad?
Arguable.
Trae Young, yes, right?
Yes.
7.
Yes, absolutely.
How about your boy LaMelo?
Yes.
You would?
Yep.
Over Brad. I'll disagree with that and leave the list at 7.
I've seen that guy take over games.
I'm going to leave it at 7 in respect to Brad. Okay. Jimmy Butler?
Yes, absolutely.
We don't know about Banchero, so I'm not going to say yes to that yet. That's not fair.
I'm with you on that.
That's not fair.
With you on that.
Jokic, yes. Ant Edwards, that's 10.
That's 10.
Cat,
yep.
11.
We haven't even gotten to the West Coast, baby.
Right.
Here we go, Jim.
Thin Towers, not yet, not ready.
Not
Shea
yet.
Gilgeous-Alexander, some people might say that. Dame.
Yep. Here we go.
Donovan Mitchell.
Yep.
Steph. Draymond. Clay. Kawhi.
Yep.
Paul George. LeBron. AD. Booker. CP3. Maybe Ayton, I don't know. Luka.
Russ. You're not gonna
John
put Russ?
Morant.
You gonna put Russ?
No.
Okay,
no.
fine.
John Morant, definitely. Boy, Brandon Ingram's on his level at this point.
Yeah.
Nobody on the Spurs, and Zion should be. So we're about 30 to 30. You're right. You're right.
And
I take it back.
We let the
You're
maybes
right.
go, by the way.
We had to let some maybes go. Jaylen Brown might be better than him. LaMelo might be. I'm not willing to do that
That's
yet.
fine.
I'm not willing to do that.
I'm willing to pay
yet.
for LaMelo's potential than what I'm paying for.
Yeah. My gut tells me this dude that Detroit picked, Ivy, is going to be silly good. Like, I think he's going to be silly good, especially he's got that other guy, Cunningham, with him. He's going to be silly good.
I'd pay for the kid in Cleveland, the point guard.
Yeah, I can't remember his name. He's good. Jared Allen's good, too.
I can't think of his name.
The center.
I watched
he's
him
good.
multiple times, and I was like, that guy can play. That guy's good.
Well.
And how old's Brad? 29, 30, right?
Yeah.
29, I think.
Listen, they decided there was no other path other than to have Brad. Oh, here's one for you. Is Kristaps better?
Stop it.
How about Kuzma?
Stop it. Darius Garland is who we're thinking of.
Yeah, he's good.
He's a baller.
He is. How about Kuzma?
Yes.
In my world.
I think he is.
In my world, he might be.
He might be.
He might be.
At the end of the day, it's arguable.
All right, so you've made your point. All right.
Sorry to derail the show 2 seconds in.
There was no question that Juan Soto is among the top 5 players in baseball, maybe the best, right?
Right.
I.e., they are talking about the largest contract ever, 3 years prematurely.
Yep.
Let's see. The latest thing, which I think is a little thing, sort of big thing, but Scott Boras revealed that they didn't charter a flight for him to the All-Star game, and they made him fly commercial.
Yeah.
And he pointed that out in the midst of they were offered the biggest guaranteed contract in the history of the game. And, of course, a lot of people were like, see, cheap Nationals. And I'm sitting there going, I don't know how you call people cheap who just offered $440 million to anybody, but Okay.
Sure.
Yes, it certainly seems odd.
Yeah.
Welcome to the buffet. Don't touch the ribs. It's like it's a little strange.
I also, on this one, the Nationals tend to have more than one All-Star because of their success lately.
Right.
Like, there was a year in Miami where they had 4 starters. Scherzer, Zimmerman, Daniel Murphy, and Bryce Harper. And then Steven Strasburg was also on the relief. They had 5 All-Stars that year.
Yeah.
They were chartered a private plane for those 5 guys. I am going to guess they bought Juan Soto a first-class ticket.
Of course.
And it's, it is what it is. Is it not? It's not glamorous. I get it. But I don't think the Nats deserve to be dunked on like Scott Boras is trying to dunk on them.
I don't either. Although I would say, I guess they could have flown him private, I suppose. And
Here's actually what this dialogue is going to do for everybody.
But just so you know, not that this should matter when you're offering somebody $440 million, probably flying him private would have cost them between $10,000 and $20,000. And flying him first class each way was maybe $1,000 to $2,000.
Yeah.
And considering they probably used an airline partner of the Washington Nationals, might even have been free.
Well, Delta. Yeah, Delta's
It's quite possible that they just gave him that first class ticket and they never paid a thing for it. Right.
Yeah. And
I'm sure that's possible.
And same thing, like the Braves, because what they did was they dunked on them with the Braves, because I guess the Braves had, I think, 3 All-Stars
and they
4
sent
All-Stars,
people
and they went via private plane.
Right.
Here's all this is going to do, by the way. The teams that are playing each other on the last game of the All-Star break now, they're all going to coordinate with each other now.
Yeah.
It's going to be, because what happened was the A's guy, and here's what I'm getting at here. Oakland deserves to get dunked on.
Well,
anytime they try to cut corners.
They have rats in their stadium. They may not stay there.
No, they have cats in their stadium.
Yeah, they have cats.
Feral cats.
Feral cats.
Live in the Oakland Coliseum.
That's right.
Sections are off limits because of cats.
Feral cats. That's right.
Yes. So,
which I think is an interesting, if they ever got good, would be a really fun,
Tampa Bay already has DJ Kitty. You can't have another cat in the league as a mascot.
I mean, hashtag feral cats is...
With the A, you capitalize the A.
Yeah.
Feral cats.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Oakland deserves to be dunked on for cutting corners because they have been. They're notorious for it. I'm not shocked you dunk on them. I don't think you dunk on the Nats in this case. Sure, does Juan Soto deserve to fly private? Yeah, I'm betting he does. But I'm betting the Nats went, we're just going to handle travel for you. Get it to first class. You're in 1A. That's what it's going to be.
For the Win, which is from USA Today, does they do a TMZ style let's ask the newsroom how we feel about things, which I think is good clickbait content, and considering how slow today is, why not? And they wrote it doesn't even matter who the people, you're not going to know any of the names, but I actually thought that their article hit the array of possible opinions about this. And they wrote, the latest sub-controversy bubbling up in Soto world comes down to airfare, specifically that the Nationals' decision not to charter a flight from D.C. to Los Angeles to get their lone all-star and eventual home run derby champ to Southern California for the festivities. So, should the Nats have ponied up for a private plane, let's take a quick sprint around the office and argue the merits at play here.
Okay.
First guy says, in this economy, in this heat wave, with these gas prices, definitely not. Chartering a plane to fly across the country twice for one person, since, they'd have to bring him back, is absurd. Maybe the Nats were being petty by making him fly, gasp, commercial, but it's not like he wasn't chilling in first class anyway. If the Nationals really wanted to punish Soto for turning down the deal, they would have bought him a seat departing from Dulles at 10 a.m. on a Monday morning.
That's good. I like that.
Let's see. The next guy says, it's one person. Is it really necessary to charter a cross-country private plane for one person? I'm not going to pretend that flying first class to LAX is a hardship that Soto had to overcome. It's just spin.
Okay.
This guy says, I don't know what the protocol is here, whether teams typically charter flights for players riding solo, but even if not, the expectation to that would be the 23-year-old who might actually be the best player in baseball, who you're actively trying to convince to stay with your team long term. If that guy makes such a request, the billionaire owner of the Nationals should just do it. Unless, of course, he's resigned to letting him go, which, that sucks. I don't think any of those decisions were made in that moment.
Yeah.
They made an offer. It was turned down. It wasn't then, fine, you're flying in 35B.
Dude, you deal with this all the time as a broadcaster. There is someone that coordinates this type of stuff. They know what, 2 weeks in advance whether he's going to go to the game.
Correct.
The lawyers don't say he's not signing.
No.
Take away the private plane. Put him on coach. They don't do that. So yeah, that has nothing to do with the deal.
Let's see. This other guy says, in a vacuum, this isn't a big deal, specifically given how wasteful it seems to charter a plane for one person. But this is not in a vacuum. This is the middle of that talk that Soto and the Nets don't see eye to eye on long-term deals and that the franchise could deal him. So yeah, it's fuel on the fire for Scott Boras, and that's the right move for an agent. In reality, it's not a huge deal, and it won't be the only reason Soto eventually gets dealt. I just hope he sat in first class on the flight that he took.
Yeah, I would assume that.
Let's see. And this guy said, the other thing that people, assume, like, in the midst of contract negotiations, you would think that the organization would be going above and beyond to make him feel as wanted as humanly possible. But maybe they know those talks aren't going anywhere, and this is their response, which would be fine, I guess. I don't know. I'm just speculating. However, I bet if the two sides had agreed on a new contract, Soto would have been chartered to Los Angeles and back as he was getting ready to represent the city and organization during one of the most watched events of the season. It's certainly not the end of the world that the chartered flight didn't happen, but it is something. I think these things are a little exclusive from one another, but I get on a slow news day, this is why we're talking about this.
Yeah.
I mean, if you are going to give somebody $440 million, it would seem to reason to pay the extra price to put them on a private jet. That seems to reason to me. Like the president of NBC Sports flies to the Derby on a chartered flight.
Right.
They don't have to do that,
Correct.
But they do it because it's the president of NBC Sports for a marquee event.
Right.
They don't send them in 28F, on like some airline to Louisville.
That's right.
And go get your bag at the baggage claim. They don't do that.
Correct. Exactly.
Did Soto pick up his bag for baggage claim?
That I don't know.
It sounds like he did.
I'm not sure.
Let's see. This last opinion from the For the Win piece. I'm torn. Realistically, it doesn't make much sense to just charter a flight for one guy, but wasn't Dave Martinez also going? How did he get there? Ooh.
That's a good question.
Still, a flight for two is wild, but probably pretty common. On the other hand, this feels a lot like an agent making things sound so much more dramatic. I don't think not chartering a flight for Soto is egregious, but the whole to-do seems very weird. I agree. And here's the other thing, when everyone says, well, you're only sending one person. I don't know about that. Did anybody from the front office go? Anybody?
Yes. Pete Alonso's pitcher.
Yes.
He was the Mets bench coach.
Yeah.
He's now an advisor with the Nationals.
Okay.
Was wearing a Nationals jersey during the home run derby. How did he get there?
Here's the other one. Let me guess that somebody from the National social media team was sent to document the event a little bit, to put tweets out and put, where else would they be getting that from?
Right.
Hey, are you going to the game? Please send us your pictures so we can tweet them out. No.
Right.
They probably sent somebody from a social media team, from a marketing team. Hello? Mm-hmm. Like, if you go to anything, I know this, having worked with the Commanders, if they do anything anywhere of this type of level, somebody from the organization goes to document it.
Yeah.
When they go to the Pro Bowl, somebody from the team goes, even if it's just John Allen, which it was last year.
Correct.
They go to document John Allen's experiences so that they can send it back through their social media channels and do stories about it.
I can confirm that. I follow the team photographer on social media because the shots are amazing, and guess who was out there in Vegas? Yeah.
So, did all of these people... I would assume there's no way they sent the social media manager on a private jet and not Juan Soto.
No chance.
So everybody flew commercial.
Right.
Probably on different flights.
I was going to say, so here's the other thing. Davey probably, if he is flying commercial, doesn't have to be there for much. He just needs to be there in time for the home run derby. Probably doesn't have to do any media things.
Right, because he's not the manager. He's on the staff.
He's on the staff. So, I'm sure if Davey actually
And I'm sure he didn't want to do any media this week, considering what was going on.
Davey probably flew out Monday morning. Or,
could be.
To get there in time. But either way, I'm just saying.
But the point is, when everyone keeps saying this is just for one person, no, it's not. Dave Martinez went. Somebody from the front office probably went.
Right.
People from the marketing team might have gone. Maybe some sponsors were sent out because it was like a gift to go see Juan Soto hitting the home run. You don't know.
Yeah, you don't know that. Yeah.
Definitively, someone from the social media team went. Dave Martinez went. So there was a contingent of people. To actually describe this as one person was going and nobody else was, what are you talking about? There were tweets from Chavez Ravid from the Nationals, Because Juan Soto was in the game.
Yeah.
See, now I'm kind of like, yeah, that's a little chintzy. Whatever.
What?
Chintzy.
What is that? I've never heard
Just
that.
kind of cheap.
Okay.
It is. So, like, this organization doing that, not sending their people, especially when it appears that the norm is that the other teams do that.
Right.
Even if it is just for one player. But still, okay. I don't know. I'm not going to get upset about it. And I do think it's much ado about nothing. I do think that Boris revealing that was just kind of a low blow shot, especially after, because what it insinuates is the team is cheap. In the meantime, they just offered his client $440 million, and if I was the owners, I would be pissed that he puts an insinuation like that out there.
I actually think this was actually more Boris taking a shot at the MLB, because his follow-up to that was, I'm not allowed to give him a ride because that's against the CBA. You're not allowed to
Oh, right. He's on a private jet, maybe by himself.
No, absolutely. He is probably saying to his clients, I would get you private if I could, but I can't.
I can't.
Because I'm betting that's probably a nice perk if you sign on with Boris Corp. If you got to go anywhere, we got private planes for you or private chartered flights for you.
It'd be better if we heard that Soto was like, I got a private jet. I'm not even taking your dumb airline ticket. Save it for somebody else.
Here's actually where I would have liked
it he's
more.
Called NetJets and it's like, I took my own flight.
So while I'm
guys.
While I'm not knocking the Nats harshly here, I will say in the current climate of things, travel is nightmare-ish for everyone right now.
I agree.
And I would say if I was
when we went on vacation a week ago, we were like, these planes are going to leave, right?
Right.
There's a lot of that going on right now where you find out all of a sudden they don't have a crew.
Correct. And so here's what I would have said, though. If I was the Nats, normally you're not chartering for one player, but you're going, we kind of need to make sure our 23-year-old superstar makes it to the home run derby. We're going to privately fly him because he needs to get there in time. Mm-hmm. That is where I'll knock the Nats, where you're in a nightmare scenario right now where if his flight gets canceled, you don't know when the next flight's going to leave, and then you gotta scramble and get him a private plane.
This being out there and this Boris putting that out there, did fall into the category yesterday of what my biggest concern about Soto being traded, whenever that may happen, if it does happen, is I don't want this team to be that team, and I think they're going down that route. If they especially trade him prematurely, that they're going to be perceived as the team that even if you succeed there, they won't pay you and they will send you off. Even if you're a generational talent at 23, they won't pay you. And I think that that's an impossible reputation to shake.
Yeah.
Personally. Like these days, the way baseball is set up, if I was kind of a star player, I'd be very concerned about exactly which organization was drafting me and bringing me up because, as the Orioles are a fun story. Do any of those guys who are on that team right now truly, honestly believe that if they become stars that they'll get paid by that team?
Right. Doubt it.
There's
no reason to believe it.
Maybe they do.
Right.
Well, I'd ask their agents.
Sure. Yeah.
I'd ask that catcher's agent. Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
If he becomes what he looks like he's about to become, do you have confidence that this management is going to pay him the biggest contract ever for a catcher? Because I don't.
Right.
And that's because the Orioles currently are that team.
Yeah.
When they had a megastar, they let him walk. Mm-hmm. When they had no excuse to do that. I don't want the Nationals to become that team where this is what we are. Now, in the past, they've proven otherwise. They've paid for Scherzer, paid for Strasburg, tried to keep Harper. I think they're adequately trying to keep Soto here. I don't think that this is like some kind of PR thing. You don't offer that kind of money. So I don't think they are, but the proof will be in who they retain. And the truth is, Harper did leave. They didn't retain Rendon, and Soto's about to get traded. That ain't good. Mm-hmm. It isn't. Especially in I'm sorry, this is not the Oakland media market. It's not Kansas City.
Correct.
It's a top 10 market. I really don't, I'll hear you out on we've got a weird media rights deal that needs to be fixed,
sure.
But still, come on now. Don't act like you don't have the resources to do these type of things. I am all for it, and I've defended the Lerner family through the years of it's not a blank check for everybody. It doesn't work that way,
course.
Right? And just because they've run into a lot of these big contracts in the last few years, there are some choices that have to be made, and to be fair to them, those choices should be allowed to be made. But we're starting to head down a path where They're not keeping anybody. The Turner thing shook me, right? That shook me.
Yep.
The Scherzer thing didn't. The fact that they couldn't come around to a contract that Harper would be happy with should shake people a little bit, albeit they won a World Series without him. And now this is happening where they're trying, but they can't get the deal done. It's time to go land of Ted sometimes and go, because Ted does get these done.
Yes.
You may not like some of the people he gives it to, but he does get them done. Who's walked on him?
Correct. Not only that with Ted, he does it in two sports where NBA is not salary cap less, but you get penalties, heavy penalties if you go over.
Heavy
a certain amount
penalties
of
if you
money.
go over.
He's gotten it done.
There still is a limit, though. Like, he knows what the final
Yes.
price can be. You can't.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
if LeBron James really got paid what he was worth, I don't know what the number would
Correct,
be. Right?
exactly.
He's priceless.
And
You don't know.
Wells-
But the NBA has rules, and this is the highest you can go, and so that's it. And you just have to decide, will you pay him that? And Ted has consistently gone to the max with all of these
Correct.
people and said, this is the most we can pay you, we'll hand it to you.
And then to the
In
Capitals.
Soto's case, it's not the case because baseball, his number is whatever he thinks his number is.
Exactly.
That's what's hard about it.
And then I would say that with the Capitals, he has basically gotten everybody done that he's needed to.
That's
yes,
right.
they've had to make tough decisions, but not like the NFL. You got to make tough decisions, but the Ovechkin,
because they have good players
Yes.
that make a lot of money, and you
Right.
have to make tough decisions because of that.
Right.
We went through this yesterday where you're like, well, Verona looks pretty good for the Red Wings. And I'm like, but they're also paying all these other guys all this money. They weren't going to pay him that. You make a decision.
Yeah,
You
and I
know?
mean, here's the thing too. It was all first round picks for the Caps too. It's Ovechkin, Backstrom, Wilson, Carlson. Who else? I mean, that's gonna
Kuzi.
Orlov. Yeah, Orlov was a second round pick. Kuzi was a first round pick. They have hit on this talent, and
They've
they keep
hit on
them,
these guys.
and they keep it around.
Yeah.
And you go to the Nats, and they have not kept any of these
Not
guys
kept these
around,
guys
except
around.
for Strasburg, essentially.
Right.
And it's my worry is this: for whatever reason, they think the learners. And this is why it doesn't make sense with the next ownership coming in is they just think there's another one of those guys coming through. And it's like, this is why I tried to point out yesterday.
No, not with this guy.
Go ask the Reds, the Pirates, the Texas Rangers, those types of franchises where
The Orioles.
The Orioles had Machado, though.
They
had
did.
one of them. But
They did.
But I'm just saying, those other franchises that kind of middle and then make a playoff run here and there, the generational talents that have walked through here, you can only let so many of them walk.
That's right.
Before you just don't get them anymore.
That's right. I agree. Like, they've landed on 4 unicorns.
Yes.
And that is a magical
And
land
then
of
4
wonder.
thoroughbreds right
Yeah.
behind them
That's
to
right.
kind of fill out the roster.
It's kind of like actually Golden State and Oklahoma City, where
Yes.
back to back they drafted Durant, Harden, and Westbrook. Golden State drafts Curry, Draymond, and Clay back to back. It's the land of unicorns that's not reality.
Correct.
And the Nationals have had this bizarre reality of finding great players, not good ones, great players.
Right.
And I am a little concerned that they're taking this for granted.
Yes.
But
Absolutely.
there really are. And they just drafted this kid out of high school who's telling me he's Mike Trout. He might not be.
Correct.
Because
Exactly.
you know
Totally.
what? You also told me a few years ago that Victor Robles would redefine the center field position, and that hasn't happened. Or welcome to the reality. Carter Kieboom is not going to be great. Or as I like to make fun of the Patriots people, if you think Mac Jones is going to show up and just be Tom Brady, you are deluded.
Correct.
That's not reality. Welcome back to our world where the specials actually don't come along that often.
Right.
They've been fortunate. And in this guy's case, I don't see a path by which this organization lets him leave. In Harper's case, they tried to retain him. They also had a really good team without him. We knew that.
Yeah, no,
they had
Soto,
a really good team without him.
It was our first glimpse of Soto that year.
This team, I don't see in any way, shape, or form with his age, his demeanor,
Right.
his ability, I have no clue how you let anything ramp up with this guy. I think I think they need to go back being very, very quiet about this. If they can't get it done with this ownership, the next ownership should have an opportunity to try to do something about it. I think he is too good. I think he's too important. And to your point, you don't let people like this just leave on the assumption that someone's going to walk in the door behind them. That's not reality. We're not going to get another Ovechkin. That's a miracle if something like that happens.
Correct. Yes, absolutely.
It doesn't work like that.
The reality with Ovechkin is it's never going to get better. Nobody wants to hear that.
No.
But
yeah, same thing. That's why I tell
Yeah.
the Patriots people, it's never going to be better than that.
Correct.
And the pressure you're putting on this guy to be that, so you got another kind of chubby white guy who's a good pocket passer. What are the chances he wins 6 Super Bowls, guys?
Right.
I doubt it.
It's what I'm kind of saying with Soto. I compare Soto to the likes of Cal Ripken. He could be a pillar of your franchise. You have him here.
With the stats to boot. With the Barry Bonds stats.
Yes.
He's Cal Ripken with the Bonds stats.
Correct. And guess what? I compare it to Cal in this light. Cal won a ring really early in his career. And Soto has done the same.
Cal never won again, too.
Yes. And the kids that watched Juan Soto in the World Series, they end up turning into 20, 25-year-olds with money down the line, and they don't care what the record is. Because their childhood hero, Juan Soto, is still playing right field or probably first base.
Fans for life. He's a fans for life people. This was my whole thing on Lamar Jackson.
They end up like me with 6 Ryan Zimmerman jerseys in their closet because they go, I can get another one. It's never going to go bad. They're going to do the same exact thing.
This is my Lamar Jackson theory. It's important for my children not to watch him. I just feel like
burgundy and gold propaganda machine over
I
there.
don't need them watching him going, oh my God.
Why are we fans of this guy again?
Why, oh, he's right up the road. And I'm like, no. I'm like censoring it.
You should have never taken him to Camden Yard. Now they know where the stadium is.
Yeah. Weinstein State Television. Like, blackout. It's blackout Ravens games. You can't watch that guy play. Just in case he is the Messiah.
Right.
I can't have you growing up going, those Ravens are pretty good. Because of him. I don't have time for that.
Whatever the next Ravens Monday night game is, Archer's going to say, hey, isn't Monday Night Football? Like, nope, not today.
Yeah.
Not now.
The second he slows down just a little bit and starts throwing a bunch of interceptions, we'll be watching those Ravens games. We tune it in big time to those. All right, let me take a quick break. Very much to show ESPN 630 Sports Capital. All right, let me read this one thing from Front Office Sports. This is kind of falls into the category of the Trent Williams thing that when he was first initially not on the 90 greatest players list, they're going to add 10 more of what was initially 15 players to go for the 90th anniversary team. They upped it to 17 by adding him and RG3, and mainly because of fan backlash, like how in the world could you not have Trent Williams as considering how long he played here and all this stuff.
Sure.
Aaliyah Boston is an ESPY nominee for Best College Athlete. The Naismith Player of the Year and several other nominees were not invited to the ESPYs, though, due to COVID restrictions and a new venue. But after social media outcry from fans, ESPN did invite her.
Okay.
She says she's not going, and this was her response to that. To be nominated for an ESPY this year meant the world to me and my family. While it hurt finding out that they wouldn't be televising the category, despite it being televised last year, and had no intentions for me to attend, it hurt more to see ESPN change course and invite me only after social media caught wind of it. Respectfully, I declined. I'm used to this. It's just another moment when the disrespect and erasure of black women is brushed off as a mistake or an oversight. Another excuse for why our milestones and accomplishments aren't a priority this time, even now 50 years after Title IX. To every black girl and every black woman, no one can take away what God has in store for us. You matter. You're valuable. You're a priority. You are seen and you are loved. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. I actually don't get her point.
Who are the other nominees?
I don't know. I'd have to look,
I'll look it up.
But it says here that this award is not being televised. Therefore, why they're not... The Emmys do this, where they have technical awards that, and oftentimes during the or at least they used to in the telecast, they would go, a couple days ago, we gave out the technical awards, and it was hosted by somebody, and they show like a 30-second clip of all these awards that were given at a separate location. And those people may or may not be actually in the Emmy or Oscar crowd.
Right.
Because they don't have time to show every award that they give out. Why they're not showing Best Collegiate Athlete this year, I'm surprised by that. That seems to be a surprising thing. Especially considering there are some very good candidates for that.
So here's some details on this one. It's Best College Athlete, Women's Sports.
Women's Sports.
Okay. So we can take issue with it not being televised. You can argue that any day of the week. I'm not going to. Whatever. I'm with you. It also said it's at the Dolby Theater in L.A., which only has a capacity of 3,400 people.
Correct.
So
they were not televising the special, which is why they didn't invite her, because she was never going to have the opportunity to literally go up on stage.
Right.
And capacity is small. That may sound like a lot of people, but it's not when you're inviting literally the sports world to show up.
Right. And a lot of your own personalities, too.
Correct. And so because of the backlash, ESPN turned around and said, you know what? Let's invite her.
Yeah.
If I were her, I would have said yes.
Right. Right.
And, I really think saying too late is not the way to send your message. Isn't the point like you want to get the notoriety and the respect? Well, they just realized that they made a mistake. I don't think it has anything to do with you being black. I think it has everything to do with the category wasn't going to be televised. You can take issue with that if you want to, but it wasn't. That was a choice they made. Seats are limited, and all of the nominees aren't invited. It's not just you. All of them weren't.
38 categories.
38 categories. They're probably going to show 15 to 20 of them.
I wouldn't even say 15. They're probably going to show 10.
Yeah, something like that, because they have speeches. They're going to give Dick Vitale the Courage Award. He's probably going to speak for 20, 30 minutes, right? They always do a lot of just there's a lot of montages. You go through the year. You have a host. They like to do they try to make it a comedy hour,
can I read
hosting
you the
it.
categories from the bottom up? The way Wikipedia has them listed.
Okay.
I think somebody clearly listed them all.
Yeah.
Let's start. Best bowler.
That won't be on.
Okay.
Did they invite the best bowlers to sit in the crowd? I'm going to go if they didn't. Best bowler.
Next. Best WWE moment. That's probably going to air because and it says it's actually the best WWE moment is an elimination format with 16 entrants at the beginning. So I guess they vote on it. It's probably a fan vote type thing.
Okay.
So maybe. I would say it's probably going to be flashed before a commercial or coming back from break probably.
Well, isn't all the WWE stuff now on NBC Peacock?
Yes.
So that it's not a priority anymore.
Correct.
They will not show it then.
Next two categories, I'm not knocking, but I doubt we'll see them aired. The best male athlete and best female athlete with a disability. They'll probably flash that on the screen. I doubt they'll...
Nothing comes to mind of one of those athletes that kind of became socially known.
Yeah. I'd agree with you.
So normally, let's take Eric LeGrand, the former Rutgers player, who became, there was just kind of a lot of attention paid on the injury that he suffered and then how he's fought through, all the issues that he's had being paralyzed. Well, if there was someone who had gotten that kind of notoriety, I know this is callous, but they would show it then.
Okay.
Because I can't think of anybody that's coming to mind that falls in those categories that kind of got that kind of social awareness. They probably won't.
So that's those two.
Yeah.
Then we have best athlete in both men's and women's tennis categories.
Doubtful we're going to see that.
Maybe. Men's tennis, Nadal is up for it. So I would say if
maybe.
He's there, maybe. Next two, best male action and best female action sports athlete. So we're talking skiing, snowboarding, and supercross.
Doubtful.
Okay. Best boxer.
Maybe. They're showing fights on ESPN now. They may want to do something about that. But again, this comes down to, does anyone know who this person is that they gave the award to?
Correct. And here's the other problem, too.
They're not giving it to Jake Paul, right?
No. Best MMA fighter is also a category. And I will say this. In both categories, there are females and males in the same category.
Huh. Okay.
So they did not separate them.
I'll go maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Best male golfer, best female golfer?
Oh, I think that will happen, actually. Probably at the behest of the PGA Tour to make a big deal out of these guys aren't on the LIV Tour.
Okay. Best jockey?
Doubt it.
Okay. Here's one that I actually think is sneaky. Best driver. And there's a NASCAR driver, an IndyCar driver, an NHRA driver, and a Formula One driver.
That's a maybe.
I think
does ESPN have any of those rights? They don't have NASCAR.
They just got Formula One.
Okay, so they're going to give it to the Formula One guy.
Right.
Okay. All right.
Best international athlete men's soccer, best international athlete women's soccer.
I would think they will do it if those people happen to be in attendance. Otherwise, I don't think that they will.
Worth noting here, the women's soccer one doesn't have a... Oh, never mind. Just kidding. It's just their club teams. Okay, I was going to say there wasn't an American on it, but
I have a hard time with that one being shown too.
Best NWSL player.
No.
Two Washington Spirit players.
Well, they're not going to show that.
How about that? Two out of the four are Washington Spirit players.
Yeah.
Best MLS player.
I doubt it.
Best WNBA.
Maybe.
I'm going probably. I'm actually going probably because ESPN has their games.
Yeah, maybe.
Best NBA player.
Sure.
Yep.
Of course.
Okay, so here we start rolling. Best NHL player.
Yeah, I think
Best
so.
MLB player.
Yeah.
Best record-breaking performance.
Sure. Now we're getting into the wheelhouse of the
Best NFL player.
Of course.
Best play.
Yeah.
Best game.
Yeah.
Best championship performance.
Yeah.
Best team. Best college athlete. Best college athlete women's.
Well, that's where they said the best college athletes women's is not going to be shown, which is why she wasn't invited in the first place.
Right. The other one I just want to note here, the best college athlete men's sports, the 4 sports are Gonzaga basketball, Gonzaga soccer, Maryland lacrosse, and Alabama football.
There's no chance that, what was the second Gonzaga thing?
It was Gonzaga basketball, Georgetown soccer,
Maryland
lacrosse.
No offense.
DMV, baby, let's go.
No offense, Georgetown soccer. Don't get your hopes up on that one.
And the last one is Bryce Young, Alabama. So I'm sure he must have just had a crazy
This is
game. Best college athlete men's sports.
Best college athlete men's sports?
Yes.
And these are the categories?
No. These are the 4 guys.
Oh, the people. So there's somebody from the Georgetown soccer team?
The 4,
does it say what he did?
It doesn't. It just says
Did he have 8 goals? How did he get on that list?
It's Chet Holmgren from Gonzaga.
Yeah.
I'm going to botch this, Dante Polvera. He's in Georgetown soccer. And the other one is Logan Wisnauskas. He's in Maryland lacrosse.
What's his name? Dante what? Polvera?
Polvara.
Dante Polvera. I mean, I'm in complete literal shock that somebody from Georgetown soccer would have made this list. What did he do?
He was awarded the best college soccer player in the United States.
Okay. I hope he wins.
And then there's a Maryland lacrosse player too.
Okay. Well, they had an undefeated season.
Right. So those are the 4 for the men's category.
Okay.
The 4 women's ones were Sooners softball, South Carolina basketball, Florida State soccer, and Boston College lacrosse. I don't know which one she was in. Sorry, I don't remember.
I'm trying to find this guy's stats. They must be outrageous. I can't find them.
Guess so. Either way, we get into the big categories: best Olympian, men's and women's. I don't know if either one of those is going to get televised. Do you?
Best Olympian?
Men's and women's. They have nothing to do with the Olympics.
I doubt it, unless what happened at the Olympics that really stood out and was like some kind of cultural moment.
You had Katie Ledecky. She's up for one of them.
Okay, maybe.
But maybe. And then you have best breakthrough athlete, best comeback athlete, and then the best athlete period for women's and men's.
Well,
Katie
they'll do
Ledecky's
that.
up for that one.
Oh, so she'll be up for that. So they'll show that.
Right.
Best athlete they show.
Right.
Yeah.
The 4 for the men's, if you're wondering.
I think, no offense to this young lady who decided not to show up. I would have taken them up on their offer. I really would have. I don't think it was trying to be exclusionary because you're black. I think that they made a decision based on some space. There was a social media outcry to have her show up and be in the crowd. I would have taken them, even if it's late, I would have taken them up on their offer. I would have gone.
Yeah.
Because isn't your point, don't you want to be a role model? Well, this is your opportunity to potentially be out there and be profiled in some way. All that you did here was say, too little, too late for me. Is it? Why is anything too little, too late?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why can't you? I mean, who cares how they got around to, righting the wrong or whatever? They did it.
And, let's be honest here, because you brought awareness to it, maybe they were going to telecast, put it on the broadcast then, because you made a big deal of it. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they would have shown you on the red carpet.
They could have made a casual mention of it.
Right. So,
assuming she'd win.
Right. But, I'm kind of
on the red carpet, they could have been like, hey, you won this award. It's not going to be shown today, but congratulations. And she does an interview with whoever's on the red carpet with her.
Right. I'm kind of with you. I think you
go.
You think you forgive
and
it?
This is, trust me, I mean, I have a lot of criticisms of ESPN. It's not a racist organization. That's not their problem up there. They profile every athlete of every nationality, gender, race. That's not, they don't have a problem with that. That's not an issue for them.
Right.
All right, let me take a quick break. Ray, watch the show. ESPN 630 Sports Capital. All right, a couple things from baseball now that they're gotten past the All-Star break and kind of in this dead period. Rob Manfred does a kind of state of the game thing.
Yep.
I did think there was a couple things that came out yesterday from his speech. One, the utterly absurd thing where he said about minor leaguers getting living wages, which they don't.
It's $10,000 to $15,000.
I know. Come on.
Absurd.
Just stop. I know. Just stop. Come on. Just stop. My first job in TV was $14.5. That was my first salary on television in a small market like that. I was in the middle of Nebraska, but this is also 1996, right? So 1996, and still nothing salary. But that's what I made, first job in television, on air in television, $14.5. Fortunately, I had an apartment. It was a pretty big one for $250 a month. That helped.
That's laughable.
I didn't have a lot of, I didn't have a lot of money to spend in general, but I wasn't worried about making that one.
I was going to say, I'm sure.
I didn't need to call mom and dad for the help on the $250 a month, which was nice.
I was going to say, I'm sure, you found your happy hours or Thirsty Thursday deals were probably, some drinks were cheap.
We were the local TV people.
Right.
So we were modestly famous in this town of 20,000 people.
There you go.
And we used to go to this club called The Slammer, where, I don't know, I must have been particularly good looking for this region of the country because girls sent me drinks constantly. It's the only time in my life that has ever happened. Like, it was, I was a Kardashian in that town. I used to describe myself as an exotic spice. They'd likely never seen a Jewish person in their life. I just looked different than everybody else. I probably sounded different. And
so you were complimented heavily there, and then
beyond complimented
there. It didn't happen
there
for 20 years until you went to Atlanta last year, and somebody said, "Hey, honey," or whatever it was.
Hung out the window. Made me want to move to Atlanta. Is that Falcons job open?
What'd she say? What'd she say to you?
Oh, it was something like,
baby?
Looking good, baby.
Yeah.
Like hanging out, beeping the horn, hanging out the window. I got catcalled walking down the street in Atlanta. I was like, that hasn't happened since Nebraska. I am not a victim of too much attention from the opposite sex. I am not. But in Nebraska, I might as well have been Brad Pitt walking around there.
Got it.
So the 14.5 went a long way there. Went a long way.
Fair enough. Makes life easy.
Does.
Makes life easy.
Yep. Let's see. One of the other things that Manfred talked about was this, and I actually thought this was good to calm the nerves about what's going on with the Orioles, because he mentioned, because they asked him about expansion, and he said, we're not going to do that or talk about that until we settle two specific teams, the A's and the Rays, which led me to believe by not even bringing up the Orioles or bringing up the family lawsuit or bringing up all the connections to Nashville that have scared the crap out of everybody here about their future here, it's not even on his radar to even say it.
Yep.
So that's the good news. That
correct.
made me feel good that the Orioles are not at least in the discussions of what are we going to do about them.
Anywhere near the same realm, essentially. Yeah.
No. The A's have a ballpark with feral cats in it.
We should get the feral cats from the A's and the raccoons from RFK, and they fight it out to see which stadium we tear down first.
Their lease expires after the 2024 season, so it's coming up.
Yep.
Let's see. Manfred said, I was at the Coliseum myself. The condition of it is really a serious problem for us. This is not news. It's not major league quality. So, and there's been a lot of back and forth about, Oakland building a $1 billion stadium somewhere. It seems so much more likely to me that they're moving to Las Vegas.
Probably.
So if they don't go, I would assume that an expansion team, I think that's what he's saying. We'll settle the A's. If the A's don't go there, we'll probably put an expansion team there. If they do go there, all's well that ends well. There will not be a new team in Oakland.
Right.
As for the Rays, their stadium situation, and he said he kept talking like there are locations that are like viable, which I thought was kind of the problem here, is that they don't have a stadium anywhere anymore. But he said the preferred location would be on the Tampa side of the bay rather than in St. Petersburg. That's where the Buccaneers are. They're literally in Tampa, not in St. Petersburg.
Correct. Yeah.
I'm not extremely familiar, but I've been down there enough to know that the more happening side of the region, where all the bars and restaurants, where the young people all hang out, are on the Tampa side of the bridge. It's a very complicated web down there. Those two cities are literally right next to each other, separated by a lot of waterways and a lot of bridges that go over things.
Yep.
And St. Petersburg ain't the hip part of town.
Correct.
Tampa is.
Yeah.
So I'll hear him out on that. And it sounds like maybe he'd like to figure out a place that's probably near the Bucs Stadium.
Here's the thing,
maybe
too.
that's what they're talking about.
I would hear him out on this as well, because baseball fans exist down there. Like, when the Yankees play there, they get overrun with Yankees fans and people that have retired. I think it's the Yankees AAA or AA team that's down there right outside of Tampa and St. Petersburg. They actually draw more than the Rays some games.
Yeah.
Which means that the appetite for baseball is there. It's got to be in the right place. So if you get them in a situation where they're in a happening part of town, I guarantee you actually that team will be fine. I actually agree with him on that.
Yeah, I agree with him on it too. The other baseball story that I find very interesting is the Orioles got red hot. They're actually in a wild card race right now. And it'll be interesting to see what they do at the trade deadline. Do they actually not trade Trey Mancini?
Yeah.
Do they actually try to pick somebody up? I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I doubt it, but you never know now. I mean, they're kind of right there. You know, if they can go get a deal on somebody, maybe they would. I don't know. Anyway, David Purdom from ESPN, who covers gambling, wrote this. The Orioles began the season as one of the biggest long shots on the board at sportsbooks and were underdogs in their first 26 games. But at the All-Star break, they've emerged as the best bet in baseball. They were 2001 to win the World Series in mid-June, but they've now gone on this tear, highlighted by a 10-game win streak. They're now 3.5 games out of the third wildcard spot.
Right.
Sportsbooks have been adjusting odds furiously. The Orioles went down from 2,000 to 1 to 250 to 1 to win the World Series, and now just 15 to 1 to make the playoffs at Caesars. Bookmakers say they're not overly concerned about the Orioles yet and are expecting them to level off during the final months of the season, but they also are well aware how expensive a massive long shot getting hot can be. Here's a quote from one of the big traders at Caesars who said, "We got burned a few years back. You'll recall Leicester City won the Premier League at 5,000 to 1.
Yep.
When every bookmaker in the world said they have no shot, so we've learned our lesson with saying anybody has no shot." On July 12th, Caesars reported taking a $1,000 bet on the Orioles to win the World Series at 500 to 1 and a $1,000 bet on them to win the pennant at 250 to 1. The book also took several bets on them at 2,000 to 1 and 1,000 to 1 odds. He goes, those add up.
Oh, man. Go O's.
Go O's. Let's see. Bettors in Maryland are especially jumping on the Orioles bandwagon at the Caesars Sportsbook at the Horseshoe Hahn in Baltimore.
Right down the street.
More money has been bet on the Orioles to win the World Series than has been bet on any other team. That includes a $200 ticket on the O's to win the World Series at 2,000 to 1.
Oh, my God. Imagine if the O's changed your life.
Let's see. This guy from Caesars, he says, I'm not sweating the Orioles yet, but he said things could get serious if they land a top-tier starting pitcher at the deadline. Like I said, who knows? I doubt it, but who knows? And he said, quote, no executive, when they look into your September pools and see what you could lose, which is $50 million on the Orioles, is going to be happy. While the reasonable baseball person says, yeah, they still have no shot, you can't write it off. You got to factor them in now.
Especially if one of
those... The books are leveraged at a $50 million loss if they somehow miraculously won the World Series.
It's also worth noting that if one of those teams, probably not the Yankees, right, because the Yankees are going to run away, but if the Blue Jays, Red Sox, or Rays has a major injury or two, they're coming right up the rear because they play play those teams.
That's right.
So,
Chris Sale just got hit by a comebacker.
That's right. Yeah, he had finger surgery.
Now, listen, the good news for the books is there's no chance of them winning the division, which means their only path is the wild card, which means it's very unlikely they get to the World Series no matter what. But
ask the Nats how that went.
Who knows?
Ask the Nats how that went.
Right. Who knows?
Right.
Who knows? Well, they also, the Nats also, the Orioles don't have Max Scherzer and Steven Strasburg.
No, I agree, but I'm just saying that it has been done from the wild card.
Go O's, Hahn. Go O's.
One thing I wanted to get to you real quick. I watched the whole All-Star game last night. 22 strikeouts between the two teams last night. It was borderline unwatchable in terms of the play. You know what they did, though? They mic'd up every single player, and they let Smoltz and the voice of the Dodgers, what's his name? Named him yesterday.
Vin Scully?
No.
Charlie Steiner?
No. Who calls Dodgers games now? I forget. Whatever. The Fox. Whoever's on the Fox call last night.
Who called Joe Davis?
Yeah. Yes. They mic'd up every player with an earpiece, and they just all game almost were talking to them. And so it was a bad game, but in entertainment-wise, it was amazing. There were guys on the mound that were talking to Smoltz, knowing Smoltz is a living legend.
Yeah.
He'd be like, Smoltz, you call it. What do you want me to pitch here?
That's awesome.
And he'd be like, fastball away. I think you'll get him here.
Yeah.
And it would happen.
Boom.
And I'm telling you, the game, like I said, was borderline unwatchable. But the pitchers interacting with each other.
That's cool.
Was like they've got something here. Like they had one point where Max Fried was on the dugout over in the NL and Garrett Cole was over on the AL, and they were just talking to Smoltz the whole time, and they were on the dugout
at the same time.
Yeah, and so they were all just talking the whole time, and then like they would go back and forth. He'd be like, Max, you got any hits there before the DH came in? He's like, I didn't have any home runs, but I had a walk-off hit. And Cole's like, oh, dude, that's great. And Cole was like, I got 3 home runs. And then even Smoltz is like, what? You hit 3 home runs? And like, it was awesome. Like, they need to do that again. And then like the next inning would turn over, and they'd say, okay, thanks, whatever. And then the next inning would be Stanton and Judge in the outfield together, and they'd be talking all of them at the same time to each other about like what they do while they're playing and all that. Like,
I like when Fox is inventive with this stuff. When they had the golf for a short period of time, they put mics on everybody, and you could hear the caddies and the golfers talking to one another about putts and shots and all this stuff. They let you in.
But what I'm saying here is,
but I love the interaction with.
And he wasn't, I forget who the first pitcher was. He wasn't the only one to say, Smoltzy, call it. Like they would talk like that, or he'd go, what do you think I should do here? And Smoltz would say something along the lines of, I think you'll get him hesitate and hit him with the change here. And he'd throw a change up.
That's awesome.
Like I said, game sucked, but do that, and I'm watching every single year, because if these pitchers are going, John Smoltz can call my pitches, I'm in every single year. Every single year.
No one asked Joe Davis for them to call their pitch, huh?
No. They also had the Yankees catcher, I forget, who was amazing as well. His name is escaping me right now. They had him mic'd up behind the plate, and so he'd be talking. He'd be like, hey, congrats, man. And then he'd go right back to talking. Yeah. Then they had him mic'd up while he was at the plate the next inning, and he got a hit and was like freaking out that he got a hit in the All-Star game.
That's cool.
It was great. So, Fox, A+ last night. I think we got something here. Keep everybody mic'd up. I'm watching every year if you keep doing this. So.
Very nice. 1 week to camp. Let's talk about it next. Brad Weinstein Show, ESPN 630, Sports Capital.